Let the blade of the conqueror once again bring glory to the kingdom. Uh-oh. I feel like it's always here. My game doesn't like Gridania. Good thing I picked Gridania for my quest. Good evening to you, Petra. By your grim expression, I suspect you aren't here for scones and herb tea. I mean, I'll take them, though. Well, isn't this a lovely little button? The engraving is quite exquisite. Artisan level quality, I would say. Where did you say you found this? On a dead body? Lovely. Anyway, I'm afraid I do not recognize the lily seal. You will have to find the answer the old-fashioned way by asking around. You can do worse than beginning with Bernadette, over by the Aetherite Plaza. She has a sharp pair of eyes, that one. I like the name Bernadette. How's it going, Ace? Good to see you. Uh-oh. No, I'm telling you, it's Gridania. Need help tracking down the owner of a button? That's certainly not a request I receive on a regular basis. Well, go on then. Show me what you have. Seems to be some manner of decorative button reminiscent of those worn by the families of old, though I cannot claim to know its sigil. However, I can say with certainty that the white lily is a recurring theme in Gridanian culture. Alas, I do not know who would make a personal sigil out of it. If there is a soul in Gridania who does, it would be Sign Gold over at the Lancers Guild. The woman makes a point of knowing all the citizens on a forename basis. Come on. Stop it. Oh my god. It crashed again. I got like an error code this time though. I'm playing on DirectX 9 because DirectX 11 crashes in cutscenes, unfortunately. And after an incredible amount of trial and error, I still wasn't able to figure out the problem. So we're stuck on DirectX 9 for now. Honestly, though, not to knock on wood, but today we've had really been pretty fortunate. We've only had the game crash twice, and I just jump right back in when it crashes. It hasn't destroyed my computer or destroyed the recording or lowered the 2 FPS or anything. So I'm fine with having to jump back in every once in a while. It's not a big deal. The only issue is waiting in queue, but it usually goes pretty fast. Okay. Let's hurry up and get out of Gridania, shall we? How long were queues that bad? Endwalker release? That was, like, recently. Oh no, now we're getting this. See, I knew I shouldn't have said anything. I knew I shouldn't have said anything. Bernadette believes that I can help you. Well, that is a rather bold assumption to make. I will try to assist, never you fear, but whether aught comes of it is another matter. Now then, what do you require of me? Fascinating. Work of this quality is rarely seen in the hands of ordinary Gridanians. The owner of this button is most certainly well-to-do. You may wish to take your search to the Gentry's ward northwest of here. Wait, a memory comes to me. Of late, there has been a man who is perpetually seated at the bench by the ward's entrance. His name is Ursendel, and I distinctly recall seeing a markedly similar button upon the breast of his jacket. I dare say he can tell you a thing or two about it. Yeah, I get a lot of pop-in. And when the pop-in happens, a lot of times it lags. This is from a solid state. I do not believe we are acquainted. Pray leave me to my thoughts. The sigil of the D'Artancourt's family. How is it that you came to be in possession of this button? From the body of a murdered woman. Her face, was it marred in any way? I had feared as much. I can no longer feign ignorance. I shall reveal to you the truth of the deaths, but on one condition. You promise to put an end to my lady's madness and free her from her torment. Oh. I was once a manservant in the employ of one of the oldest and proudest families in Gridania, the D'Artancourt. During that time, I had the honor of waiting upon Lady Amandine, mistress of the household. Fair as the summer she was she, and possessed of a heart befitting her radiance. Alas, the calamity wrought a great change in her. Though my lady escaped with her life, death may well have been a kinder fate. Never will I forget the day her bandages were removed and she beheld her disfigured face for the first time. At that moment, the kindly woman I knew ceased to be. Unable to bear the thought of being seen, my lady sequestered herself within her chambers and refused all company. This continued for many uneasy moons, until one day, without warning, she began receiving queer guests. None among us knew whence they came, these masked men, but my lady believed that they would help her to regain that which she had lost. So began the rites of rejuvenation. These rituals seemed innocent enough in the beginning, but grew ever more grotesque as time went by. Eventually, there came a day where my lady bound one of her handmaidens to her bed and proceeded to mutilate the poor girl's face. Suffice it to say, she did not survive the ordeal. It fell to me to dispose of her body. I performed the dreadful task as bade, obedient servant that I was, but when the time came to return to the house, my legs refused to move. I knew then that I could not go back to that place, not after the nightmare I had witnessed. So it was that I left Hauck Manor, my home for nigh on half a century. Long did I weep for the girl who was slain, and longer still for the woman that Lady Amandine had been. Yet one cannot weep forever, and I endeavored to put the matter behind me. Indeed, I had resolved never to speak of my experience, until you appeared before me. My lady's madness must be ended, lest more innocent lives be lost. Lay her tormented soul to rest, as you swore to me you would. She awaits you at Hauck Manor, on the western edge of the Central Shroud. Go now. Go and do what must be done. Yeah, it seems like, for the most part, the main story is pretty tame. But then you'll randomly get this quest where it's like, suddenly really dark. I mean, not like to the point, because you don't really like see anything. But the descriptions sometimes get like, oddly descriptive. Where was it? Bent branch. Bum, ba, bum, 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 bum. Whoa, is that a special enemy? No. Oh my god, did you see that? I think... Maybe it is. Oh, no, there's one. Just got flashbanged. There really is something odd going on with the textures as they load in. Like I've deleted and reinstalled the game. So I don't think it's anything like just the game files being weird. How'd you guys rate the Chocobo theme out of 10? It's growing on me. When I first heard it, I was like, 3 out of 10. But the more I hear it, the more I like it. I think it's like a 6 or a 7 out of 10 for me right now. Oh, look, a floating eye. Floating eyes all over, that's not suspicious. Alright, we'll see how that goes, I guess. Like, oh, there's a smith just chilling right here. So it must be a dungeon. I figured it probably would be. Alright, we get to do a dungeon. Haven't done one yet today. This looks dope. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. Boop a doop a doop a doodle boop a doop. Boop boop diddle boop. This song is sick. Wait, his name is Carpet Stain? This is gonna come to the surprise of no one, but this is definitely my favorite dungeon so far already. And maybe my favorite song so far. Captain Stain. What? Stop you right there. Yo, Brondo, thank you for the 25-month primer. Dude, thank you so much. You can use your Prime anywhere for free. So the fact that you're willing to use it here, I really appreciate that. Thank you. YouTheBomb.com. Yeah, I feel it. It can be hard to remember sometimes. Ouch. Don't get hit by that. I'm liking it a lot. In fact, this dungeon is probably my favorite part so far. Already, and we just started it. Man, we are doing 0 damage to this guy. Holy crap. Any secrets? Locked door. No secrets, eh? Guess we're going upstairs. Never mind. What am I missing? Is there a key in here or something? Yep. Another key. It's a locked door here. So we'll do that now, I guess. Does this have any goods in it? Oh, some mushrooms! Mushroom sneak attack. Demolish its rear. It's a mushroom surprise. A fine wax. The garbage is that? Crafting material. Oh, dude. Resident Evil vibes. But don't stand on the piano! Unreal. Kids these days. No respect. Don't respect the old ways of music. There's a lot of enemies. I'm just gonna get my buff and AoE over and over until they're all dead. One tanky bat. How's it going, Grandma? Good to see ya. Hope you had a good week. Combat has definitely gotten a lot more entertaining. Feels as if I actually have a lot of things I need to think about during a fight and not just repeating the same thing. I mean, for the most part, I'm still kind of repeating the same thing, but there's more instances now where I need to be doing something different. Whereas before, like, you could say the combos were at least semi-complicated, but you were still doing the same combo every time. Used to grind this place for fine wax so I could make and sell fireplaces. Were fireplaces a hot commodity at some point? Nice. You take those. I would imagine, similar to how, like, dressing up is big in this game, I would imagine that decorating your house is also pretty big. Oh, look at that sword. Oh, I thought she, like, summoned some demons or something, but it was just a ranged attack. Trying to take out my mages. Red Hall is no longer sealed. And I got a key. And I got a bandana. Oh no, it's better than my disguise. Man. Now everyone's gonna know who I am. The jig is up, boys. The jig is up. So where does this... Oh. The ivy door. You want to swing? I have another long form video that I'm working on that might be something you could watch next week. Not sure if it's going to be done by then though, because I'm not exactly sure what all is going to go into it yet. Trying this guessing game. What point and click would have not been on PC or Mac? A point and click would not have been on PC or Mac? Was the Sam and Max series ever on PC? It was? Hmm. Sam & Max was on PS3. I know because I played it. Played the whole series with my wife. Oh, that's scary. Now that's weird. A point and click game that was on console but is really old? Because like nowadays there's plenty of point and clicks on console, but... Manor Field Dressing? What What now? Other gloves. Nice. Getting lots of good equipment. My Marauder just went right in. You know, I'm back and forth with the inventory. I really like that I don't have to loot much. Like, I can just focus on playing the game. I don't have to constantly be in my inventory managing or waiting for enemies to fully die so I can pick up the stuff off their body. Like, I can just run around killing stuff, and it feels really, like, fluid. But on the other hand, if you were to tell me, like, you hate the fact that you can't loot, I understand the argument. Because, like, that's part of the fun of these types of games, is like looting and managing. Like, just look at Diablo, like that's practically part of the gameplay loop, is managing your inventory. So like, some people enjoy that aspect. I don't really enjoy that aspect much, so I'm not really missing it, but I could see where other people might kind of miss that, because there's essentially no inventory management in this game. Like, I still haven't even filled up half my inventory. And you can't even get duplicate items. So it's definitely a different... I did not expect that at all. I definitely expected the inventory to be very similar to other MMOs or top-down RPGs where you're constantly micromanaging your inventory. But they went with quite a different style with this. And like even the equipment, you don't really change much, and when you change it, it's just because it's very obviously better. And see, like, it's a give and take, because not having to sit in the inventory and do a bunch of math to figure out what's the best to equip is kind of nice. But on the other hand, it's kind of lame. Like, Zuloff and I were playing Grim Dawn, and one thing that's really cool about that game is, like, every piece of equipment is super unique. So, almost everything you pick up, you have to look at and be like, okay, this gives me this, but it also takes away this, and, you know, what's better? Which cuts up the speed of the game a lot, because every time you pick something up, you gotta stop and look at it. But on the other hand, it's cool that equipment is so varied that you can really come up with a lot of different builds, and it's not always just, well, the numbers are bigger, so equip it. So I don't know, it's definitely a give and take. I think I prefer this, if I'm being honest. I think I prefer just seeing an equipment and immediately knowing it's better and equipping it and moving on. It's just more fun for me that way than having to stop and read. But you know, I can see the argument for both. I love it when you blaze home with the 78 months, my man. Thank you so much. So happy to have you around, dude. Hope you've been well. Really appreciate you being here for so long, being part of the OG crew. You're the man, dude. Wouldn't be here without you. Here to enjoy Final Fantasy XIV and start some more arguments. What do you want to argue about? What do you think of the equipment system? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you prefer having to look at your inventory? Or do you like it to be brain dead? Thoughts? For an MMO, you want it to be brain dead. But for like Diablo, you don't want it to be brain dead. I can see that argument. Because MMO, you're kind of wanting to constantly move on to the next mob. Like, you want it to be more fluid. With Diablo, it's not as annoying to stop and read stuff as it would be in an MMO. Especially when you, like, with MMOs, I mean, with Diablo, you're a lot of times playing with friends as well, but with MMOs, it's really trying to be based on playing with friends, so you don't want to have a system where you're constantly have to be like, guys, wait, I've got to read my crap, you know? So that's kind of a good, that's kind of an argument for it, you know? If you're having to constantly stop and read stuff in a game where you're almost always playing with friends, that's kind of lame. I think I would like items to be generally brain dead. And when I say brain dead, I mean like as soon as you look at it, you know if it's better than what you have. But also I want there to at least be a bit of like, oh, I should save this in case I do this type of build kind of thing. And it seems like with this game, you really only have that like end game, not during the game. So that's a bit of a shame. Like, I'm thinking about something like Borderlands. Like, Borderlands has a really good balance between, like, 90% of the time you pick something up and you can tell it's better than what you have. But then 10% of the time you pick something up and you're like, oh, well, this could work if I end up getting this skill, or if I'm fighting an enemy that's far away or on fire or has ice resistance, then this might be good, you know what I mean? So I think that Borderlands is probably one of the best examples of like a good loot system. And like with a game like this, I wouldn't want it to be exactly like Borderlands because Borderlands has so much loot. But if you were to take like Borderlands loot system and make it less drops, so like this game where drops are still pretty rare, but when you get them, they're a bit more varied, I think that would be like the ultimate for me. I think that would be like my favorite. The best way to do it for me. Like, my only complaint with this loot system is that there's no amount of, like I don't pick something up and go like, oh, if I'm against a fire enemy, this would be great, so I'm going to keep it in my inventory in case I go up against Ifrit. You know what I mean? Like, that never happens. Instead, it's just like, oh, +2. All right. So it'd be nice if I had at least a little bit of, like, saving certain things for certain damage profiles or whatever. But at the same time, you know, I don't want it to be that everything I pick up is that, you know, like Diablo or something. Like, I want it to be mostly automatic so I can just focus on playing and focus on, especially if I was playing with friends. But, you know, it would be nice if every once in a while we got, you know, something where I feel like it's useful to keep. And I mean, for the early game, I can see why it's like this, because by the time it ever were to come, like, if I were to pick up a piece of armor that had fire resistance, right? By the time I ever used it, like by the time I ever got to Ifrit to use it on him, it would be so underleveled it wouldn't matter, most likely. You know what I mean? So for the early game, because you're leveling up so fast, it's probably good just to have auto-equip stuff. But hopefully, and I don't know if this is the case or not, but hopefully, I would imagine it's not. But hopefully, when we get to the later levels where we're kind of sticking to the same power level for a longer period of time, it would be nice to get a bit of variety. But with what I've seen so far, my guess is that it's kind of just going to be the same throughout the whole game until you get to, like, absolute post-game, in which case we're going to be putting on, like, materia and stuff to get just little tiny boosts and whatnot. Or maybe equipping certain things, certain rings for very specific boosts. But still, like, even just looking at what I have now, like, I don't really see anything where I'm going to be like, oh, I want this for this specific build or whatever. I feel like what's going to happen is I'm going to get to post-game, and I'm just going to be like, okay, I'm a monk, and monk's critical hit is the most important thing, so I'm just going to put on some critical hit materia and call it good. Like, that's my guess. If you're a healer, then it's like, oh, mind is the most important, so I'm just going to put on some mind materia and call it good. And that's going to be, like, really the only post-game equipment variants that there's going to be. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I might not even really get to the point where I'm worried about that kind of thing during this playthrough. It might not be until I'm, like, done with the DLC that even really comes into play. Oh, nice. You can switch between... Not every game allows you to do this. It's really obnoxious. I'm glad this game does. This is just a better version of that ring. Oh, clicked the wrong one. There we go. Yo, yo, I'm a Final Fantasy XIV rapper, and this is my ethereal flow. What? Find the bloody parchment. Yeah, that's what the people were saying earlier, is like, unless you're, even post-game, unless you're min-maxing, it doesn't really matter. Which is a shame. I think that's a big shame, honestly. Like, it seems like the materia system is a pretty cool materia. Or, pretty cool materia. Pretty cool system. Where, like, you have to use certain equipment to power it up to get to the point where it extracts materia, and then equip it to other equipment. Like, that's a really cool mechanic, but they make it completely useless because the boosts are completely negligible. Imagine if throughout the game I could, like, be constantly taking materia off and equipping it to certain things and getting, like, boosts that actually matter. That could be, like, really cool. I was sitting right there. I get it now. This is just a... You're supposed to grab this and then just take the shortcut. Is there anything else in here? Yeah, for sure, but you can make materia do more unique things and still have it be winnable. Yeah, it's all about balance, and games like this can be hard to do that because in the end it's all just numbers. You're not really dodging too much, so it's hard to make it feel challenging but not be impossible also when it's all numbers. A game like Final Fantasy XVI has it a lot easier because it can just be like, well, you gotta learn to dodge. Then you can have bosses do however much damage you want. Because technically you can win anything in Final Fantasy XVI if you just don't get hit. Are we supposed to be scared of you because we already killed one of you? Oh, no, never mind, that's her. She looks just like the other one. Wait. There might be goods.